So that was a benefit. Another feature, and I don't know, Brad, if you got a screenshot of the glossary.
I don't think I did.
Okay. Moodle calls it a glossary, but basically you can set it up as any sort of database of files or links. So as we started getting the students into finding sources, then they compiled their own database of links to, well, hey, this site, whether it was with the History Channel or different science foundations, and they put the links in there and were able to comment on that and kind of help each other out in, well, these would be good places, because I'm sure that your students are a lot like ours. You tell them to look something up and they Google it and they go to Wikipedia, and that's where they find their sources. So this was a good way for us to kind of give them structure and say, these are the databases where we'd like you help each other out and work through these databases to find your sources from these places. So the glossary feature was really very beneficial. So again, there were a lot of strengths. The forums were really great, a lot of the features, but we realized that we were moving way too fast. We weren't really connecting the EE enough to the bigger picture of IB. So those were some things that we really tried to fix from our pilot into what we're calling our prime time. Yes. So before we move on, what are some questions that you might have at this point, or some things that we've mentioned that you think, hey, this would be really helpful? I've seen a couple of you jotting down notes. So some ideas that you think would be beneficial to the way you do EE at your school. Yes, sir.
I just have a question. This Moodle course that you went on, the state Moodle course, how long did that last to sort of get you up to this level where you could create something?
It was 8 weeks.
It was an 8-week course. It was something run through the state of Alabama, and they offered it. It was actually, the Moodle course was taught
Using Moodle.
in Moodle. So we had to log in as our students would.
Total immersion.
And then, of course, it walked us through how to
Set up forums, and it helped us kind of pick and choose which features we liked. There's a quiz feature that is extremely slow in setting up. We thought, okay, well, we're not ever going to do this. We're not going to spend 8 hours, inputting a quiz and all of the multiple choice options and that, but by practicing, and the three of us took it together, and so we would sit down once a week and kind of work on our Moodle homework together and kind of walk through, okay, this is what we have to do for this PD Moodle course. But while we were doing that, we had a sandbox course that we had to develop, and so the three of us were really working on, okay, which features could we pick and choose and use for the EE. So that was really helpful.
So it was an online course that you did like an hour a day?
Yeah, well, a couple hours a week. Yeah, a couple hours a week. And there's great resources on how to use Moodle. If you just Google a Moodle forum, then there are all these different resources to help you. There are different ways to set up forums. If you again, Google Moodle glossary, then there are all these people in, chats, and Moodle is used in so many different ways. When I was looking some things up as we were putting the final touches on our course, I came across a group of realtors who were working on, selling houses, and they were using Moodle as a way to get their real estate certification. So it's being used in a lot of different ways, and a lot of things that you can learn from people not in a traditional high school classroom setting. Yes, ma'am.
For clarification, so do the students have a designated space, like in their schedule for EE?
For the pilot, we had some downtime at the very end of English while they were working on individually putting together their oral presentations. So we carved out a day a week where we would go down to the computer lab, and I would walk them through that, and when Brad had time, he would pop in, and then over the course of that next week, they were to go online and participate in the forums and do some readings, and so it basically took a day a week to do this.
This was still embedded in an existing.
It was, and then for next year, it will be in the advisory 24-minute twice a week class that we have.
Thank you.
Yes.
Because I'm not too familiar with Moodle, but is your site like a password secure site?
Yes.
So it's not open to the general public?
Right.
But then the forums and everything that you use in it are open to everybody in your school that's using it, right? Or
Within this class. So really there are quite a few teachers who are using Moodle in various ways for next year, but each class is its own entity, and so you have to have the login and register within that class. And if you're not part of this EE class, you can't just jump in and look at the forum.
I was just going to jump in here because this is getting up to my section anyway. Your question about is it password protected, how secure is it? You guys are actually going to get password to see the new course. You'll have a better view of it than I will since we're working on screenshots. But iPads seem to be working just fine right now, so I hope that you can go in and enjoy it. I also wanted to address your question about kind of the ease or difficulty of learning Moodle. I am not a big fan of technology. I sort of begrudgingly accept that this is where we're going. But I found Moodle to be largely self-intuitive. When you turn the editing feature on in Moodle, there's a whole row of icons for every line of text that you have. So for every individual line of text, you have every icon that you might need. And then you just click, I want to move it here, so it's easy to move it around in the course. You click, I want to edit it, or I want to change the summary. You can click that you want to hide it from the students so they can only see certain units. It's really flexible, and I've grown to like it a lot, and I don't like any of these. Anyway, so next slide.